Joe. Are you ready for today's episode?
I am ready, Fraser. I'm very ready.
Yeah, it's conference championship Sunday, so we're trying to squeeze this episode of the three healthcare headlines you need to know from Tallahassee in before we sit down and enjoy an afternoon of football. So hope you've got your plans ready for the family for the games today.
Yes, it's gonna be a big family day. I was out of town last weekend. I'm gonna be out of town next weekend, so I played a lot of golf this weekend. And today is all about family. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna watch both the NFL games and not do much, not many plans, but we will maybe have a cocktail or two while we watch the games.
Nice. Well, let's get our business done first. And this is our latest episode of our podcast, the end of the second week of session this week. So as we always do, we bring our members the updates of what's going on in Tallahassee. My name is Fraser Cobbe. I'm the executive director of a number of the county and specialty societies in Florida. And this is our opportunity to let you all know what's going on and engage in a little bit of dialogue on how you can help advocate on behalf of physicians and patients up in Tallahassee. And my partner in crime, as always, is Joe. Joe, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Joe Daraskevich, and I work alongside Fraser at several of those societies and associations across the state of Florida. And just in the last week, and obviously, we were recovering the first week of session last week, and we had a comment on our video, and then in person, I saw a bunch of people who tuned in. So we're reaching our audience. I was happy to hear that. So hopefully, our audience grows as the session continues.
Yeah, well, you need to be careful talking about golf because if we do go nationwide on this podcast, there's a lot of them that are feeling the brunts of Snowmageddon this week, and you're talking about golfing down here in Florida. But I guess that's the privilege of living in this great state, huh?
We're talking, this particular podcast is all about, the politics in Florida. So hopefully, nobody's up in, the snow country right now. But yeah, we are enjoying some nice weather compared to the rest of the country. So I was in short sleeves on Friday and had to bundle up a little bit yesterday, but nothing compared to our friends up north. It's been quite a week.
Awesome. Let's dive into the headlines now. We gave you all the weather report for this weekend. Yes.
Right, let's talk politics. All right, the first headline this week, organized medicine assesses the playing field and looks to go on the offensive. Okay, I see the theme there, Fraser. I see what we're doing.
Yeah, definitely. It was a bit of a quieter week in Tallahassee in week two, if you can call any week in Tallahassee during session quiet. But yeah, there was not as many fireworks as there were the first week of session. So it gives us an opportunity as we were chatting, building out today's program to really think a little more philosophical about how we approach legislative session, how we do advocacy on behalf of our physician organizations, and a little bit of the changing playing field. And one thing I did want to do, I put offensive right in the title of this because I know it can be frustrating for a number of our physicians. It always seems like we have to play defense so often. But part of that is the reality that as the House of Medicine, we have folks that want to pursue legislative initiatives all the time. And usually our adversaries have one issue they care about, whether it's a scope issue or, a reimbursement issue or something. So they can be laser focused and put all of their political capital and resources into pursuing one issue, right? And as the House of Medicine, often we find ourselves having to defend all these various issues, and it really taxes our ability to address all of them, frankly. There's only so much political capital you can utilize, and by that I mean, going to legislators and asking them to do something on behalf of organized medicine. And when you have so many issues you have to try and address, it really makes it really hard to really prioritize how you use that political capital throughout sessions. So oftentimes this podcast, we're guilty of focusing on the negative or the defensive issues, but there are opportunities to go on the offensive, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more today in questions two and three, or headlines two and three. But it's just a reality of the playing field that we deal with. And then I did want to mention one other thing too. The shifting landscape of physician practice with consolidation and everything. It's been talked about for years, and it's really accelerated with a number of doctors that now are employed by healthcare systems or hospitals or other corporate entities. one of the benefits of that, if you will, if you could call it benefit, is it provides more opportunities for us to collaborate with larger organizations. So a lot of those administrative hassles, reimbursement challenges, delays, and everything, as employers, hospitals are feeling the brunt of that too, the same as physicians. So it makes us allies on a number of these issues, and there's opportunities, frankly, to merge our resources and stand up together to battle some of these larger players, in Tallahassee. So that is one benefit, if you could say, of consolidation, is that it's making bedfellows out of us, and certainly it's not lost on legislators too. As physicians come in and talk about issues, they understand a lot of physicians are employed now, so it does change the dynamic a little bit, but still it provides opportunities at the same time.
Yeah, and a good. I'm glad you brought the fact that there is so much to cover. Obviously, a lot of doctors in the state of Florida, and a lot of specialties. Some topics might be really important to some specialists. Some might not affect someone else who has a totally different side of medicine. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to kind of wrap a bow around everything and kind of make everybody happy. Not, I mean, obviously we can't make everybody happy, but we try to advocate for the things that affect everybody. And sometimes there's very specific things that are huge for some certain people, and we need to cover those things as well. So it's there's a lot of things out there, right, Fraser?
Yeah, and I drive home the point too. I know our doctors get frustrated because it seems like we're always having to fight off people, but that's just the reality. There's a ton of people out there that want to advance their role or take a bigger piece of the healthcare delivery system, and unfortunately, we have to address those each session, and we're guilty, the two of us, as are a lot of our members, and really just focusing on those issues we have to play defense on. But there is a whole offensive side of our strategy, and we'll talk about that a little bit more today.
Sure, I love it. All right, well, let's move on. I love it. I love the talking offense a little bit instead of defense. So here's number two: embracing the underdog role. Physicians and hospitals unite to take on insurers. That's something we can all get together for. What are we talking about there, Fraser?
Yeah, and I teased that a bit in the first headline, just opportunities for us to work together and merge our resources. And there's several bills moving this year, which are examples of that. There's a huge downcoding insurance reimbursement legislation that's been filed in both chambers. And we're getting tons of calls from people, and it feels like it's accelerated in the last 6 months about automatic downcoding of claims. Um, which I mean is just the latest in a number of hassles historically the insurance carriers put as far as our ability to get paid. But this legislation is very aggressively going after downcoding, making sure that insurers do have to actually review medical records before they actually downcode. So it can't be an algorithm that just automatically moves every level 4 to a level 3. They actually have to look at the charts and make sure that they are proving that physicians have not met the required data points to be able to bill a number 4 versus a level 3. So that's a good thing. It also shortens the clawback time frame for patients that fall into the grace period. So if a patient is no longer eligible for coverage at the time care was rendered, currently the law says they can go back 12 months and ask for a clawback just like any other scenario. And this shortens that time frame to 90 days, again, providing some payment certainty for physicians. It does a lot around prior authorization reform and requiring insurers to have a process electronically, a portal for you guys, for physicians to do their prior authorization requests. It does require licensed physicians to be making those denial decisions. So there's some accountability there as well. So that's just one example of a bill that the FHA is very heavily involved in. They've really been playing point on this. The FMA is obviously supporting, as are all our counties and specialties. And it's an area where, finding insurance companies in the state of Florida, whether they're healthcare or property insurers or automobile, is really difficult, right? So it does take, many mighty arms standing together to try and get this stuff done against insurance companies. And then the other bill I mentioned is retroactive denials, and that's one we've talked about. Representative Dean Black has filed that bill again this year, and Senator Masulo, Dr. Masulo, has the Senate version as well, and that's looking at retroactive denials. So trying to make authorization mean something. And if we get prior authorization and we render care in good faith, limiting the ability for them to come back later and claw back and saying the patient was, delinquent on their premiums, or oops, we made a mistake and we're clawing back the money from a future claim. It also gets around that virtual credit card issue where insurers were requiring physicians to accept money on a virtual credit card and absorb the 3 to 5% fee to just get reimbursed for the services you've rendered. So it clamps down on their ability to do that as well. So those are just two examples. We dove a little bit deeper. Dr. Schrock gave us that memo that, some of these bills we need to take a little bit of a deeper dive. Both of those bills, the retroactive denial bill is pretty short, but the downcoding bill is quite lengthy, 60 something pages. So there's a lot of good stuff in there, a lot to be excited about, and a lot for the physician community to rally around because we're going to need it if we're going to actually be successful in passing that bill.
And I'm glad you did mention that one of our doctor commentators kind of reached in and said, "Hey, let's get a little deeper dive into some of those bills," and so that's what we did there. We listened to our listeners. So feel free to put something down in the comment section if you want a little bit more description on something or a little bit play by play on what's happening. We're happy to address that for our listeners. So that was for that, and I'm glad that you mentioned the underdog role going up against those insurers, because when we were over there in Tallahassee talking to Dean Black specifically, he had meetings with insurance companies, the day after we all met with him, and he just kind of talks about it as they walk in with their, three-piece suits and, looking like they're, walking on water, and they live and breathe over there in the House and Senate, and they're there all the time. So the doctors are now we're kind of banding together with these other entities and kind of working together to you know be the underdog. And like you see with the NFL, underdogs have a chance. Underdogs can win anytime, depending on the Sunday, and all we have to do is work hard, and the results will be there. So, any thoughts before we move on, Fraser?
And no, I'm just happy we could address the question from our one audience member. When you have an audience this size, we tend to cater to individuals that do actually reach out and give us a note. So happy that Dr. Schrock reached in, and certainly we'll keep that in mind in future episodes too.
That's a good point too. If we have 50 comments, we're not going to be able to address every single one, but that'll be a problem when we get there. We won't worry about that just yet. So for now, if you comment, we're going to address it. So we'll do that as they come in. So all right, that was good deep dive into those things. You ready to move to the third headline today?
Yeah, let's see the third one.
All right, this is another one with a bit of an NFL theme, so hopefully the sports fans are tuning in and liking the way that we're going with this. So number three, unnecessary roughness, throwing a flag on attorney shenanigans. I like that one.
Yeah, I had to get shenanigans in there at some point on one of these. Yeah, so this is another area where we are looking to go on the offensive, and it's an issue that popped on our radar several years ago, that we tried to address, and we're not successful at that time. But it seems like there's been a resurgence of this tactic that some law firms in the state are using, and it's really preying on the workers' comp statutes that say that physicians cannot bill a workers' comp covered injured employee. But there's no grace or my bad, if you will. There's no oopsies allowed in the law, right? There's no way to just say you're sorry currently. So if you send a single bill or statement to an injured worker, then these attorneys are coming in and suing you for violating the Consumer Debt Protection Act here in the state of Florida. So we've heard about it most recently, the last 6 months, about 6 lawsuits that physicians in the state were subjected to for this. So we emailed out through our various associations last week, and I got a ton more emails from practices all over Florida saying that they had been victims of this tactic. One pathology group in particular had 30 lawsuits from law firms in the state over just a simple error in sending a bill to an injured worker, and then all of a sudden you violated the Consumer Debt Protection Act, and they come in and they seek between, was it $5,000 and $15,000 settlement to make it go away. Some of these bills are as small as $10. A simple statement will go out. The patient hasn't paid anything, but you have violated the statute right away by sending them a bill. So we think there needs to be some leniency in the law there, especially since the legislature has passed a statute that says that overpayments have to be refunded within 30 days. If by chance an injured worker did respond to an incorrect billing and pay us the $10, give us an opportunity to make that right, return that money, say, I'm sorry. You can ignore that bill. There's no need for litigation to occur, especially in a system of comp that's built to prevent litigation. It seems ironic that they're taking advantage of this loophole to really increase the amount of litigation going on in the state. So we're trying to find a vehicle moving to address workers' comp in this year's session where we can attach some language to just give us a little bit of breathing room to say, hey, we know we're not supposed to bill injured workers. If we mess up, give us an opportunity to make it right. but don't take us to court and use this as a tool to just extort attorneys' fees out of physicians and other healthcare providers. So it's another way that we're trying to protect our physician members. So if we've got people in the audience that have been subject to this stuff, let us know. Definitely trying to collect examples and show what's going on.
Yeah, you're reading my mind there, Fraser. That's what I was going to say. Is that comment section is great for just letting us know where we need to improve, but also share those anecdotes. Let us know, hey, raise your hand and say, I have a situation that I need to bring to someone's attention, and we're happy to relay that message to get people over there to Tallahassee to testify in hearings and things like that. So don't be shy in that comment section, and let us know what you're seeing out there in your offices, in your practices, in your hospitals, wherever you may be across the state of Florida. So we're happy to get those details from you, however you want to get them to us.
Absolutely. Yeah, and hopefully we'll find that vehicle. We're working on some language to fix it. If we don't find a bill to attach it to this year, obviously we'll look to file a freestanding bill next year. But again, we want to hear from our members if it's happening to them.
Yeah, and that's another good reminder of how things work over there in Tallahassee. We take baby steps all the time, and if we find that vehicle this session, that'd be great. We could get things moving, but sometimes it takes a long time for things to happen. So we'll keep pushing and do the right thing.
Yeah. Now, as we go into the music section of our podcast, Joe, I hope for sure this week of all weeks, shout out to my wife and her Indiana Hoosiers. I hope for sure you've got a John Cougar Mellencamp song teed up for us, but not to put you on the spot, but you might have thought of something else, but go IU and let's hear a Cougar song.
Well, you could. How about this? I'll throw out a band that I had already been thinking about, and then you can tag on with, some Indiana alumni excitement. So the song I have today is it kind of a plays off. Last week I said I had an Humphreys McGee song. I've been listening to Humphreys McGee for 20 plus years, and then a band that I just heard of this last week is has the name sounds a little similar, but I had never heard of them until this week. They're a bluegrass band out of Colorado, and they're called Magoo. And the song I picked is Pickin' Flowers. So you can kind of take that however you will. Picking, a pick, interception, in a football game. But the reason I said picking flowers was the song's got a whole bunch of different meanings to it and everything like that. But it's about, some people are looking for daisies, some people are looking for roses. There's a flower kind of for everybody. And the reason I picked it was I had a chance to talk to some medical students last week about advocacy in general. And I explained how, we kind of advocate for bills and, for things that are physician friendly and on behalf of the patients and things like that. And we don't really pay attention to, it's not, Republican versus Democrat. It's more of we talk to everybody, and we know that everybody's got their priorities, but we're here to talk, on behalf of organized medicine. So that's where I came up with the idea of picking flowers. Is everyone's got their own flower, but we're all looking at that same garden and hoping everything kind of grows together and it lifts the healthcare community in general. So I tried to be a little lengthy with that explanation, so that now that you can give an Indiana based song for your lovely wife and her Hoosiers. So go ahead, Fraser.
I love that, but I don't think I should anger a large chunk of our existing audience that may probably support the U down there in Miami since we are Florida based. So I'll let my comment stand for now, but congratulations to all the Hoosiers out there.
Congratulations to the Hurricanes. I mean, it was a great run. Obviously, kind of came out of nowhere. They made the playoffs, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. If you're a Hurricane fan, you're hopefully happy that it was a fun, exciting run, and there were a lot of big victories on the way to that championship game. So hopefully everyone enjoyed the season, and now we can turn our attention to the NFL, and the Super Bowl is not far away.
Terrific. Well, this was a lot of fun this week, Joe. Hope you guys enjoyed the games this afternoon.
And you too. And we'll next time we talk, we'll know who the Super Bowl opponents are, and we'll probably have more themes to talk about, and bound to have more things happen over in Tallahassee. So we'll talk to everybody next week.